Good morning, everybody. This is Grant Sparks, and today we are talking about building a cult in times of crisis, aka leading during difficult times. Today, we're going to show you a four-part framework I've used in the past as I've led in different roles, whether it was in the church in the early 2000s during, the 9/11 crisis, or in 2008 when we were launching our businesses, the worst time to launch businesses, and how we launched those businesses in 2008 in times of crisis, when the real estate crisis was happening, how we built that movement and that momentum. And so I'm going to share my framework for that and how we've done that since. And when COVID hit, how did we do that then? When I had a crypto group in 2015 and the crypto crisis happened. In times of crisis, if you do not have a process by which you keep people engaged and actually engage them further, because times of crisis are when movements are made, leadership happens in times of peace. And I'm going to share that because we're talking about my catchy title is How to Build a Cult, aka leading in times of crisis. And I'm going to share this, and I'm super convicted about this. Every time a once-in-a-lifetime historical event occurs, I jump in here and realize, man, these are the times when people actually build movements and momentum. Movement and momentum are similar words, and when there's momentum, when there's movement happening, you gain momentum on your goals. But the leadership that you build has happened long before that. So you don't just show up and become a leader, because when you're pressed and pressure happens and you're squeezed, just like you squeeze an orange or you squeeze a lemon, what comes out is what's already there. And it's the same when it's in times of crisis. So I'm going to share today my four-part framework and several times that I've used this, and then a top secret book. This is a top secret book. Oh my God, what is this book? This is a top secret book that I found after 9/11 when the Patriot Act came out, and I was paying attention to how the leaders of our country were basically influencing citizens. And it really bothered me. And I observed a guy walking out of a conference. One of the major political strategists of the time was walking out of a conference with George W. Bush and his whole crew. And I saw the cover. I'm not sharing the cover yet. I'm going to share the cover of this book with you because I saw the cover of this book under this guy's arm, and I scrolled through Amazon until I found the book. And I've been reading this book for over 20 years. It was 2004. And I got this book on Amazon way back then. And so I'm going to share that book with you and the framework that I've deployed on just leading. And I know we're talking about cults and leadership, and that's a real, playful way to look at how movements are made, but really how you can apply this for your business, how you can apply this for your church or small group, how you can apply this for any venture that you're launching out on. Because we don't just need another side hustle. Like we see this in crypto, we see this in side hustles, in entrepreneurship, where they're just launching another app and nearly to a person. Every time these things fall flat, it's because they didn't build community. They didn't build a movement. They did not lead because they're being convinced that you could just build the world's greatest app and people will jump on. But if you actually follow a lot of these indie hackers or these indie builders or crypto projects, they've been building an audience so long before. Oh, I got some messages here. Oh, people joining the TikTok over here. People have been building their audience so long before they launch their thing, and they think, well, I just launched my SaaS app, and that SaaS app was perfect, and people came on. No, they built an audience first. They built a following first. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about that. And other quick things we're going to cover. Number one, why clarity and communication are non-negotiable. A lot of people, especially during COVID, a lot of people shut down. And they shrunk from the world. I launched the Sparks Show. I relaunched this very Sparks Show at the peak of COVID because I knew this playbook. And this playbook was you build lines of communication. You build lines of communication and you can build that following again. You can build that momentum, especially in times of crisis, because the reason people shut down when times are in crisis, the reason people get afraid is because they don't know what to do next. They're looking for leadership. So then thank God we had the internet. They start scrolling the internet and looking for voices of leadership during times of crisis. And so in 2000 and 2001, we relaunched Spark Sites and grew phenomenally. Because we had LOC, lines of communication going out amongst the people. And so we're going to be covering that, my 4-step framework on quick 4 points and what you can do today to begin building, not your online following, though I do subscribe to that. It's how to build your leadership, because you can start building leadership with a room of one person. You can start building your leadership with a small group of people. Yes, we want an online following. We could talk about building an online following, but here's the trick. Here's the thing. The tricks from this 120-year-old book, 70-year-old book. The tricks in this 70-year-old book, which I'm going to share with you, are the same that you use to build your following. They just do it more consistently, and it's more impactful when you're one-on-one. Leadership and meta leadership, which we're going to cover, happen one-on-one, and those things are far more powerful. And then if you could do that first one-on-one and then translate those same behaviors to online, this is meta influence like you've never seen. This is meta influence in building any following you want to build, any Facebook group, any school group, any broadcast, whatever it is you want to build. But you have to have this foundation. Don't build the platform first. Don't jump over to school and open a group because you found a catchy title. You've got to ingrain in yourself these powerful principles. So we're going to be covering that, and then basically how to build influence. And I don't mean social media platforms. That comes as fruit. You got to change the fruit for the root. People are trying to chase audiences. Those automatically come when you already have influence. And influence is a cadence in the way you speak. It's the things you talk about. It's when you help other people overcome the monsters in their life, when you have a major transformative purpose for them. That is what builds the fruit of a large platform, a large following. So we're going to be covering that and more. But before anything, you know what we're going to do. Morning cup of gratitude. If you've been following the show, this is episode 351, my friends. I've been doing this a long time. And the first thing we always do is start with a cup of gratitude. So if you're watching on TikTok, I see you. If you're watching on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you're at, jump on, grab a morning cup of gratitude, because if you cannot share what you are grateful for, and my TikTok friends, my Instagram friends, my Facebook friends, tell me in the comments what you're grateful for, because if you cannot state what you are grateful for, you cannot be in the state to influence others. Because a major factor of influencing others is being able to hear and connect. You cannot hear and connect if you're closed off. Take a moment right now. Tell me what you're grateful for, and you know that I'll start. Several things I'm grateful for. Number one, I'm absolutely grateful for my dogged discipline in the gym, my dogged discipline in my business, my dogged discipline in my goals. And it has caused turmoil. But the actual act of that discipline has also supported me during times of turmoil. So my radical discipline has changed my life, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful. Netza jumps in over here on Facebook. Netza says, grateful for focusing on personal health. He and I were saying the same thing. I think he's getting into shape, getting his health in order. I've been doing my thing for a while, and I'm super grateful for it, because even in times of trial, and if you're on TikTok, I want you to post what you're grateful for. I'm going to shout you out. Mr. Bell believes. Mr. Believes, I want to hear from you in the comments, because I'm going to shout at you here in a second. But Netza, 100%, absolutely passionate and focused on my goals. Hey, Psychic, I want to see your goals. I want to see what you're grateful for today. And so I'm grateful for my discipline. I'm also grateful for leaders who show up even when it's hard. You're the ones that history remembers. When you show up when it gets hard, as a leader, you might not have any influence at first, but you're a leader because you have a frame. And I'm going to share my framework on what makes you a leader. When I share that framework of what makes you a leader, you're going to see that you don't need a large following at first. You build influence over time. Hey, Dee. Hey, Lynn. Drop in the comments what you're grateful for. I want to hear from you. When you can express what you're grateful for, and especially as it aligns with your goals, you absolutely start opening up the universe. And so I'm grateful for leaders who show up even when it gets hard. I'm grateful for my discipline. I'm grateful for the individuals around me, because lots of change is happening in my life. And even the people who are changing themselves are very supportive and very strong and very passionate. That's what I'm grateful for. What are you grateful for? Netza had the boldness and the strength and the open-heartedness, if that's a word, to jump in and share what he's grateful for. What are you grateful for? I want to see in the comments. Carol Lewis, what are you grateful for today? We'll start in there. And listen, if you know anyone that needs encouragement, if you know anyone that leads a business, if you know anyone that wants to lead a movement, if you know anyone that's passionate about helping a certain group of people, We're starting movements here to say we're helping you start your cult, for lack of a better term. I want you to like, subscribe, or share this to them or tag them, because we're actually going to break down where to begin. There's a lot of nuances to leading a movement. And I've led multiple movements, and we're going to talk about them. I'm going to share with you transparently the movements I have led and failed at, and the movements that I continue to this day, because I'm truly passionate about very few of them. I've led a few for a variety of reasons, and we're going to share that. But like and subscribe and share or tag someone who themselves has a movement or a group that they're trying to lead, and share this with them, because we're going to break this down. All right. Oh, quick side note on why I'm thinking about this today. There's one particular movement that I've been leading since 2012, 2013. It's still going to this day. I've had a show on this for over 120 episodes. I have a name for myself. I traveled to expos for this for a good 6 years. I'm still heavily involved with people in this community. And I'm going to say it, and you're going to want to browse away, and I don't recommend you do. I've been trying to influence people on this for a long time. And it's when times are hard that I have gained the most amount of momentum and influence. And that was around crypto. I've been in crypto since 2013. And I've bought and sold and been in and out of the market off and on in the last 10, 12 years. If you're paying attention today, Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP Ripple are hitting all-time highs. And I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is the movement underneath it. There's been a large crypto movement underneath this that I have applied this to. I had a large Discord group of over 500 people for a good long time. I had investment clubs that we still have and share investments together. And we're waiting on the market to return from it tanking back in the day. But we're still sharing these investments. It's still growing. How did we build our leadership and influence? I'm going to break down the framework. But in this scenario in crypto, it's when we go through a crypto winter and it tanks that people are looking for leadership. And we grew our show. We grew our crypto show to the largest it ever was when the crypto market was in a down market. We actually built most of our investments when crypto was in a down market and the fervor was low and venture capital was low and everyone has lost money on their investments. They were very upset. But that is when we built the most amount of following, is in that movement. Similarly, when a 9/11 happened, I was in a church. I was a very young man and I was helping lead. I was a youth pastor in a church. And everyone was very sad, very upset. They weren't sure what the tomorrow, they were very unsure about the future. And that's when our church began to grow. In 2008, in the stock market correction, people started losing sight of what tomorrow might bring. They started growing uncertain and fearful about the future. And when leadership was applied, we started our book study groups and we started our church groups. And it was during that time that people rallied and we grew. We grew a powerful book study for several years. After the 2008 stock market correction, we were studying finance. We were studying how to build side hustle money. We were building all of that during that time. I'm talking about this today because Bitcoin's at an all-time high. Now everyone wants to jump on board and no one feels really fearful. They might have feel like they've missed out a little bit. But it was during the down market that now I have influence around this topic. Why? Because I bought when the market was low and now I look like a genius. It's similar for leading people. When you have a movement going on, or when the markets, or when society is in a slump, and when there's a lot of fear and angst and anxiety, when there's fears of being immigrated, when there's fears about what the market is going to do, are we in an economic war, tariff war with other countries? When our standing internationally has tanked the way it does, and people become fearful about tomorrow, and they are in the transaction of fear, when they are purveying fear and their value exchange is fear, and when they're talking about fearful things, and you show up talking about a cohesive vision of the future, when you show up, and I don't just mean Pollyanna optimism, I mean when you can reframe what people are experiencing as hope, then when the market turns, you invested in hope and in tomorrow and into people, you look like a genius. You look like the genius that bought Bitcoin at $800 and held to 122,000. That's what you look like. So it is in times of crisis when people are trying to look for leadership, and whether that's a cult, whether that's a church, whether that's a business, whether that's a MLM, whether that's a movement, whether that's a political movement, it does not matter. You strike when times are low and you purvey, you transact. in a hopeful vision of the future, cohesive, while acknowledging the pains of today. Pollyannaism ignores the pains of today. This Pollyanna optimism, I consider myself an optimist, but I feel like I rightly acknowledge the stresses of today. And so when you can do that when times are hard, you can become that leader. So let's summarize this real quick and then get into our 4 points. Number one, the real problem is that in crisis, leadership often stops giving clarity and loses clarity for itself. And in losing clarity, you're not speaking clarity of vision to other people. So therefore, you've lost cohesion. And every movement, every business, every church, every cult, every powerful political movement is a momentum thing. You have to have one win after the next. You can't build it and set it and forget it. Every Facebook group, every networking business group, everything is a movement, and it will have a natural life cycle. And you've got to give it life and breathe into it and pay attention to that life cycle. So when times of crisis, most leaders lose clarity of vision. They stop sowing clarity of vision. They become lackadaisical. They give in to the powers that be outside of themselves, and they shrink from the world. They stop communicating. They lose cohesion. Then you lose cohesion. You lose momentum. Then your followers begin failing at their goals and now blaming you. They were failing at their goals before, but now they blame you for failing at their goals because you promised you would help them achieve them. So your pain is double. This is the problem most leaders, whether in small business, whether community leaders, this is what they're finding right now. And without clarity, their fear now spreads faster than it did before. Their goals now feel more hopeless than before. And then these teams check out. These volunteers check out. These investors check out because you checked out. And by checking out, you stop sowing vision, and you stop showing vision that was relevant to them. And now malaise falls over everyone, including yourself. And here's what makes it worse. They came to you for some form of leadership you did not deliver. And now the noise of the outside world starts getting into them. And this pain is exponential. It compounds. The shifting markets, the worrisome headlines, what so-and-so is doing yet again, what the opposition is now doing, but not really doing anything important. And now doubt that anything can be done has paralyzed most people. When leaders vacillate between, oh, I've got a lot of resolve. We've seen Cory Booker do a sit-in protest. And then what came next? We've seen some say, well, we're gonna come out here and do an eating protest. I'm gonna starve, basically not eat until change happens. And then they just stop. Where did that go? Momentum stalls. And this crisis turns into collapse, and everyone just gives in, and then leadership does what they're going to do. Or not leadership, but the political leaders, the societal leaders we have, they just do whatever they're going to do. They just have their way with society. So it's a problem already inside of people, and then they start moving away from you. They're no longer looking to you for leadership. So they go back to looking at the headlines. And the headlines definitely tell them, hey, you might as well give up. This is too big for you. And they stop setting goals. This is huge. Go outside today and ask people their goals. I challenge you. Go outside today and ask people their goals. They have none. Go to Starbucks and ask the barista what their goal is. Very few people will answer yes. I do this everywhere. And I am very encouraged at the people who do have a vision. I am so lit up when someone says, I'm trying to get my nursing license or my nursing degree. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to move international. Any goal will do. Hear that. Any goal will do. It's the act of goal setting itself, which to me is a little bit sad, but also tells me that people are ripe and right for being led. If you have 1 ounce of leadership unction in you, it is imperative on you that you lead. The world needs leaders. The world needs leaders. And if you are made alive by leadership, now is your time. More than ever. So if this is the problem today, this is what we're going to do. You must lead with clarity, communication, connection, and commitment. Clarity, communication. This is my framework. I'm about to drop it on you. Clarity, communication, connection, and commitment. And you must make your moves now. You have to make your moves now to help other people. So let's break this down. Crisis does not need more chaos. It needs more organized leaders, and leaders who can see what's going on, who can say that vision, who can remain steady in that vision, and who can help shift paradigms. These are the leaders that work. Here's my framework. Number one, clarify the vision. Return to vision. Return to vision. Leaders in times of crisis, building your cult, building your business, building your small business, building your community movement. Leaders clarify the vision for themselves and others. They translate the uncertainty into a clear mission. You do this by making the uncertainty the enemy. Every movement needs an enemy. Every cult needs a resistor. Every business needs competition. When you hear a good business mission statement, they often say, hey, people in our industry are getting this wrong. They're setting up this enemy, and it's true, and hopefully it's integrated and true. Every cult, every movement, every leader sets up an enemy, and that enemy does not have to be a person. It could be. That enemy could be malaise. That enemy could be lack of clarity. That enemy could be uncertainty. For the longest time, United States enemy was this ambiguous thing called terrorism, the war on terror. The war on terror. It was very abstract, but it was enough to rally people in the early 2000s. It was a movement. It was a cult. You can wield this. If you are a leader, clarify your vision. If you watch this, if you're watching this now or today or later this on, or if you're seeing this clip later, tell me in the comments what your vision is. In times of crisis, set up the enemy. Lack of clarity, uncertainty, lack of leadership could be one. It could be a particular political movement. It could be a brokenness. It could be being broke. It could be fear of the future. But set up a clearly defined enemy more than your niche. In fact, your niche can be defined as those who don't like the same, who have the same enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Your niche could simply be people that share the same observations as you. Hey, Jacob, how's it going, man? So as you go out there, number one, step one is clarify the vision in opposition of the enemy. And right now, the enemy is uncertainty. Hey, Miss Piggy, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. So step one is clarify your vision in lieu of the enemy. So you have to have an enemy. And that could be an abstract concept or a specific thing or purpose. It could be the man. It could be you're going to unseat Amazon as the king of book sales online, whatever your enemy is. I recommend you don't make it an individual. I recommend you make it like an entity or a concept, right? So that you don't go after someone, but something pervasive and strong. Translate that uncertainty into a clear mission. Here's your action today. This is the action to take today. And I mean right now, put it in the comments. I don't care where you're watching. Do this right now because chances are you know the enemy that you're experiencing. For me, it's the poverty mind. The enemy is the poverty consciousness that gets bigger and bigger with every societal upheaval. And right now, there's a poverty consciousness seizing people. They are giving into, am I going to be broke forever? Is it always going to be this hard? Can I never own a home or get into investments? Can I never get on the bandwagon and actually increase my wealth? Poverty consciousness is the enemy for me. What's yours? Write a single, here's your action to take. Write one sentence right now. Good morning, Jewel. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. And get this, I was just talking about poverty consciousness, and her name is Jewel Fortune, who dropped by on TikTok for a moment. That's awesome. So step one, clarify the vision in light of the enemy. Write a one-sentence summary that outlines your goal, and then repeat it out loud. I ignite lives of explosive significance. I launch 10,000 creatives into their dreams to overcome fear of failure. My mission statement, to overcome insignificance, to overcome depression, to overcome fear that you are going to be nothing. That is my mission statement. What's yours? Write it down in the comments. I want to hear it. Even if it's been a failed mission statement, what is brewing in you? So clarify your vision in a single sentence that outlines the enemy, but outlines your purpose. Clarify the vision. In times of crisis, we ignite lives of explosive significance. People are falling into depression, malaise, and fear of the future. And we ignite lives of explosive significance. People who are falling into a life of insignificance. We're helping you find significance. We're helping you live your goals and your dreams. That's who we are. What is yours? And steal mine if you have to. Steal mine if you have to. The second one, number one is clarify the vision. Number two is communicate with purpose. And Netza boldly stands up. Thank you, Netza. Netza Rodriguez says, my mission statement is overcome the impossible and conquer the extraordinary. Overcome the impossible. He even lists the enemy. The enemy is impossibility thinking. It's limited thinking. It's people who think that that is impossible. Overcome the impossible and conquer the extraordinary. In this mission statement, he states what he's doing and the enemy that you can fight against. That is powerful. That is powerful. Thank you, Netza. Number one, clarify the vision. Number two, communicate with purpose. People follow where meaning lives. People follow where meaning lives. Hear me on that. People go. Nature abhors a vacuum. And where nature has found meaning, and nature expands and contracts, it grows and decomposes, right? When something starts to assemble, when something is dying, it's disintegrating it. But when something is integrating, it's being born. Think of the cells in the womb or a flower growing in a seed, and resources flow to that thing. Are you disintegrating and your resources flowing away to other meaning, other purposes? Or do you have a clearly concise blueprint in your DNA that is drawing resources to it? This begins with vision, and it follows. So that was step one, is clarifying the vision. Step two is communicating with purpose. Give me the framework. Give me your blueprint. Tell me how I can send resources to you. Time, energy, encouragement, money. Money being the least of these. Momentum being the most important. People follow where meaning lives. Here's the action you can take. Send a brief update today to your following. The following, and it might be a dusty Facebook group. It might be a dusty email list. It might be a stagnant text chain. It might be a stagnant Discord group. Ping them today. What's the goal? Tell them. Why it matters. Tell them. The enemy you are facing, for Netza, it's the impossible. For me, it's insignificance and brokenness. Tell them why it matters and how they are essential. You are essential. Text someone today. Just text them in the comments, wherever you're at. If it's on Facebook, if it's on YouTube, text someone who you know needs to hear this next sentence and tell them, hey, so-and-so, you're essential. Do you remember the good aspects of church? I remember the bad, but the good aspects of church, which I will remind you of, is someone stood up there and said, you are essential. Clarify the vision of what's going on, what's happening, and then communicate that purpose. Netza's mission statement is to overcome the impossible and conquer the extraordinary. Tag someone, Netza, today who's been on your team, a group that's been dusty, a Facebook business group that you don't even own. Tag people in there and say, this is my mission statement and you are essential and here's how to get involved. And you got to follow through, my friend. That's the action. Send a brief update today, a line of communication. Let people know that the lights are freaking on and that you are still about your mission. You might be bloody. You might be scarred. We all might have to close a business in the coming months and years. That doesn't matter. I'm going to die on my feet for this mission. I said something to someone the other day. I've got a dream life and several goals, and one of two things will happen. I will achieve them or I will die standing on my feet fighting for them. I don't care if I am 85. I now know how far I am willing to go for my goals. I have just been handed a massive challenge in my life, which I'll share about later. And even the person I'm challenged with, we're going through it in a very abundant way. I am adoring this person, right? I'm adoring this person today for it, how they're behaving. It's fantastic. It's so kind and loving. But I know how far I am willing to go. And so I will die on my feet, and your following needs to know that too. I'm still here. We're still here busting out book study. We're still here investing together. We're still here growing our wealth together. We're still here getting our fitness and health together. We're still here building relationships together. We're still here. We're still here. We got a trip to Colombia coming up for our spiritual life and our marketing life. It's going to be powerful. Number 3, do what I'm doing right now. This is number 3 on building your cult, building your following, building your members. Step 3, connect emotionally. Can you hear the emotion coming across my voice? That is not fake. I'm tapping something that is enraged inside of me for you, for society. You have to connect emotionally with yourself first, and then your following. And this is where a lot of leaders fall down. They pick something they're not actually passionate about. They suspect that their niche group is passionate about it. Listen, if you're going to go into business, pick a boring business, but do not pick a movement-driven thing. Pick plumbing, because you don't need a mission statement for plumbing. It's just a need. But if you're going to try to build a school group or a Facebook group or a movement, but you're picking a group that you do not have a deep emotional connection to yourself, you will fail. I have been at this way too long. I could count on my left hand, on both hands, on hands and toes, how many groups I have started that I personally wasn't completely emotionally attached to, and it just fell apart. I didn't have the emotional connection. Number 3, connect emotionally, because then you can be handed a microphone anywhere and get people going. I am passionate about living a life of significance, living a life on purpose, living a life of goals at all costs. And hopefully you draw your tribe and you politely repel those who are not your tribe. Hear this quote. You got to hear this. Psychological safety fuels risk-taking and trust. And I've got a link for you. Psychological safety fuels risk-taking and trust. If you're following, when you make a line of communication to your following, you send them an update today, as was the last step. Send an update to your following. And if they can tell in your inflection that you are prepped for bear, that if they step out and take risk, they need to feel psychologically safe. How to create psychological safety? We could talk about this in a big way. How do you create psychological safety for your following? The mic is my sword. Oh my God. Netza Rodriguez dropped this line. The mic is my sword. I love that. If you can create psychological safety for a group, and that's one of several ways. A, be kind and create a safe space for them to express themselves. 2, say what they're already thinking. 3, say it with the fervor and passion that they wish they were saying it with, and they see that you are coming to their aid. They have been bullied by some concept, some group, and you are willing to raise your voice for them. That creates a safe space for them. You're coming to their aid. You're coming to their defense. It sounds like Grant's willing to scrap over anyone who is being made to feel insignificant, and I am. If I see that guy bullying, I cannot help but say something. I'll open up my home. I'll open up my wallet. I'll stand between you because I am fervent about this cause. What are you fervent about? And that's connecting emotionally, and that creates a safe space for the person you're defending. You might be a little heated. And when you turn and talk to them, you make your voice kind. You create a safe space because they've probably been traumatized and abused in some way, shape, or form. But you create a movement by connecting emotionally. You don't just pick a target niche. You pick an enemy. Because on the opposite side of the enemy are your niches. And there's more than one. There's all kinds of demographics that can't stand. In my case, my enemy is insignificance and brokenness. Being broke. You know how many niches are in that? Plenty. But if I'm willing to stand up and punch that thing in the throat and vocalize that this should not be, people will fall in behind me and go, yeah, you're right. Lead the way, my man. Because I'm connecting emotionally with something they're feeling deeply. People are sitting in their car crying over their money. People are sleeping on the couch somewhere, not sure what significance. Why should I even get up tomorrow? What's the significance? And I'm the one saying that out loud and saying that thought, and they're going, yeah, show me the way. Because it's tough out here. You have to be able to connect emotionally. Step 3, connect emotionally. There's a great article right here I'm going to drop in the comments about meta leadership. there's a thing called leadership, and leadership is the type of leadership that everyone expects because of your job title. Meta leadership is the influence you conjure beyond your job title or your role. It's meta leadership. It's your ability to cut across multiple niches and multiple departments in your business and multiple parts of the community, because you are leading in a way that is connecting so deeply with people, and here connecting emotionally with people. I dropped this for those on TikTok. I dropped this link. And let's see if I can drop it in the comments. Yeah, I can drop it in the comments in TikTok too. Boom. I dropped that link for everyone in TikTok. Bam. There you go. Number 1, clarify the vision. Number 2, communicate with purpose. Number 3, connect emotionally. Because if you cannot connect emotionally, if someone hands you a mic and you cannot go there, you're not connected to the movement yourself, and they'll know. And people will know. People are not dumb. They will follow that passion. And number 4, commit to adaptation. You see, goals become irrelevant in chaos. I've seen churches that started like this, but when the movement changed, when the outside forces changed, they didn't change the goal. For the longest time after 9/11, the message in churches, because I was heavily involved at the time, I'm not anymore, but I was at the time. The message in churches was stand against the outside. God bless the USA. God bless our nation. God, this was a godly nation, and we're going to fight and stand and pray to protect our country from outside invaders. And then suddenly the airports were really bad to work with after the Patriot Act, and the TSA was established, and travel was miserable, and there were no more bombings, and there was no more threat. But the churches kept on this. And have to this day, Christian nationalism has stayed on this same message since 9/11. They have not changed. And there was a lot of prosperity gospel. But then 2008 happened, and everyone lost their money no matter how much they were praying. Everyone lost their homes no matter how much they were praying. They weren't involved politically. They weren't involved as citizens. The goal stayed the same within the church, and it became highly irrelevant. From about 2007 till about, I'd say, the middle of COVID, the church has just been languishing. And there's been other times in history, hands down, but in particular in modern recent history, the goal didn't change. They became irrelevant because it wasn't the pain. The church was not aligning with the pain that people were feeling. And then they jumped on Christian nationalism because there was a lot of societal unrest. So they jumped on that. If you do not change the goal, now the mission in the enemy, this is why it's so important that as you build a cult or a movement or a small business, that your enemy is a concept. Because the concept doesn't change. For example, being broke as a concept is the enemy. This will be true no matter what, because there will always be a group of people who are marginalized financially, always. So even though if I made my mission, however, just get SNAP benefits, and that was the only goal. Well, when the Trump administration cuts Medicaid, I'm irrelevant. But if I stay on the topic, as for example, Dave Ramsey has stayed on the topic of financial independence, but he's growing irrelevant because he said no. He specifically made his mission no to Bitcoin, no to smart debt. And he's falling irrelevant because these obviously in the news, this is becoming relevant and he's ignoring it. But if he stays on track with financial freedom, living generally debt-free, then he can keep going on his parade. Anyone that has had longevity has had an enemy that's a little more, not completely abstract, but a little more abstract than practical, because goals fall irrelevant. So number 4, commit to adapting. If you want to build a movement, a business, is it about websites? No, we got to remain adaptable in the website company. So we're starting to look at AI. So it's literally about technological freedom. How to live a technologically free life, how to integrate it into your life, how to not have control over you, but how to still dominate with your web presence and staying relevant from technology perspective and having that competitive edge. You have to remain adaptable in your message. That's what we do for Spark Sites. It's different for Influencer Academy. It's different for Grant Sparks and the Spark Nation, which is still, that's gone into hibernation. But I'm rebuilding my message around Spark Nation because the world needs leaders that are ignited. This is why we're taking trips to Colombia and start working on our mission statement and our messaging and our goals and our planning. But the 4th step, committing to adaptation, is that you will fall irrelevant so quickly if you make yourself some very fixed point, your enemy or your goals, a very fixed point in society. You got to think a little bit more It can't just be, well, the debt crisis. Well, that's going to come and go. It can't just be, here's the thing. It can't be the Democrats, because that will come or go, and then your enemy's going to suddenly become the conservatives. A lot of conservatives are realizing that, oh, dang, this is now my enemy. You can't pick one of these things. Lack of education in politics, that could be your enemy, and that's going to be around for a long time. Gullible voters, poor leadership. These are very viable enemies to have. And step 4, commit to adapting. Here's your action on this. Schedule a weekly 15-minute recalibration to reflect, adapt, and refocus. In some ways, you have to drill down. For me, goal setting is the answer. Insignificance is the problem. Brokenness is the problem. And then I spend the rest of my messaging around goal setting. Now, people can get tired of that. People can get frustrated with goal setting because it's hard. It's difficult. And I have to build, it's on me to continue that momentum around goal setting. Clarifying your goals, being a leader is part of that. Having discipline is part of that. Structuring your calendar is a part of that. But what if calendar technology's changed and I made it all about that? I make my goals about goals. And how meta is that? That is forever. That is evergreen. So committing to adapting, and what you're supposed to do is, the action is schedule a weekly 15-minute mini. Here they are. And for those who are just jumping on, let me give this to you, and then I'll send you on your day. Here we go. Number 1, clarify the vision. Your action is to write a 1-sentence theme and goal your team can repeat and articulate who the enemy is. Number 2, communicate with purpose. The action is send a brief update, even to your old dusty followings, your old dusty groups. Send a message. Remind them of what the goal is. Remind them of why it matters today, not the old reason it matters, the current reason it matters today, and how they're essential. Number 3, connect emotionally. If you cannot connect emotionally with this purpose, bail out and start over. Connect emotionally and create psychological safety, and you do that through a variety of actions to take. Ask one person how they're holding up. I didn't give you that action earlier. The action is ask just one person how they're holding up and validate their reality. That's how you create psychological safety. Validate. I'm so frustrated about this move I got to make. You're right. It is frustrating. How are you holding up? How can I help? Become a leader. And number 4, commit to adaptation. Schedule a weekly, and don't bail yet. I want to show you the secret book. I got to give you this title to add to your library. Schedule a weekly 15-minute meeting to recalibrate, reflect, and adapt to what's going on. Listen, I got the secret book. It's a secret book. In 2001, hey, No Time, thanks for the hearts. I appreciate it. I see that No Time out there. Thanks for dropping by. This secret book, and if you're on TikTok, I'm not selling this book. There's no links for this. I believe in this book, and I'm going to share it, and it's top secret. It was written in the 1950s about mass movements. It was written by a man who people did not expect. He was a longshoreman. Basically, he worked on docks, but he was very intuitive, and he was watching a lot of the socialist movements, and then he saw how the socialist movements gave way to the far right-wing conservative Nazism movements and nationalist movements. And then he saw how that happened to swing everyone to progressive movements and violence societally. He wrote this book in his observations. How do I find out about this book? In 2001, I was about to join the military. Oh, No Time. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it, No Time. Thank you so much. So I was watching the Bush administration respond to, and No Time sent me some celebration emojis. Thanks so much. So I was watching the news quite a bit because I was about to join the military. I was getting sucked into the nationalism, and we were about to go into Iraq. And I was suddenly questioning something in my gut told me not to do. And I looked into the Patriot Act, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? So I watched the news pretty closely, and I realized, man, I just had that dawning awareness of coming into adulthood that every political party, every administration, all of them are influencing the mass to their own desires, whether or not I had thought critically. So I decided to start thinking critically. I was watching a lot of the Bush administration meetings, a lot of the cabinet meetings, and I saw the news. C-SPAN was covering one of the meetings about us going to Iraq, and I was just paying attention to the news headline. But I realized there was something I wasn't seeing. And I watched one of the advisors walk out. And one of the advisors walked out with this book. Oh, what was that? With this book popping up on their radar, under their arm. There's a random newscast, and I searched Amazon high and low for that book cover. I couldn't see the title. It was too far away, just like I'm waving it at you right now, waving it too quick. And it moved too quickly off screen, and it took me weeks to find this, weeks. And finally, I found this book. This book is called True Believer by Eric Hoffer. Take a screenshot. I'm going to be breaking this book down, and me and my private group, and if you want to join our mastermind, we'll talk about that later. I've got some of that stuff in the links below. We're going to go over this book for your business, for your movement, for your cult, whatever it is, for your church, because every administration, what I realized, every administration, because I went back and started studying it, their political advisors all brought this book into their meetings. Because the subtitle is The True Believer, Thoughts on Creating Mass Movements. Thoughts on creating mass movements, the nature of how to get people to do what you want as a mass. Is that an appropriate book for political parties? For their goals, you bet it is. It's probably a good book for you to know as well. I spun off my own framework from some of the principles in here. I've read this book for now 20 years. And I have chosen to not wield this book, but I am realizing the purpose inside of me, the movement inside of me, the needs that the people dealing with insignificance, the needs of the people dealing with being broken cannot handle another day being under the thumb of these forces. We're going to go over this book together because you need to be aware. And if you're aware, you won't be manipulated. And if you're aware, you can wield it for your own purposes. And I hope and pray that those purposes are good because people need leadership. And I highly encourage you pick an enemy that has bothered you since birth. I highly encourage you to pick a movement that you are truly passionate about because John Eldredge said, and I say this almost on every show, do not go out and find what the world needs. Go out and find what makes you alive because what the world needs is people who are alive. And yes, I am talking about cults and movements, but what I am talking about is you rallying around causes that inspire you so you would sacrifice for them because I have, and I will continue to sacrifice. And we're going to still be wealthy. We're going to still have our investments. We're going to still have our businesses. We got to fund the revolution. And that revolution is a revolution of spirits. Because as one person said, render unto Caesar what's Caesar's, but render unto the spirit of man, render unto God what is God's. We need a revolution of those of the spirit. We need a revolution of creativity. We need a revolution of leadership who is going to lead us into a good place. And that's all we want. We want to be led to a good place. And if you have one iota inside of you, one shred, one sliver inside of you that has an inkling to lead and to stand up against a particular villain in your story. For me, it's insignificance and brokenness, poverty thinking. These are the enemies, the real enemies. Meanwhile, they've got us fighting on other stuff, people, talking about movements that come and go, and we're just being pushed around left and right. No more. I'll give you the cover of this book, The True Believer. Go get it. Again, I'm not linking. I don't get any commissions from this book. Go buy it, The True Believer, or reach out to me, DM me, because we're going to start a group where we're conquering these things and starting our movements as leaders. And I'm telling you, even if it's just your business needs leadership. People are afraid that tariffs are going to ruin them, not you. It will be difficult. I do not approve of it. But you are not going to succumb to that. Your business is going to thrive because you're going to build a culture of positivity and abundance and future thinking in your business even. So yes, we're talking about cults and church and all kinds of crazy things, but this could be applied to as simply as leading your family, as simple as leading your business, or dusting off that old dusty Facebook group. You're going to thrive today. Number 1, clarify the vision. Number 2, communicate with purpose. Number 3, connect emotionally. Number 4, commit to adaptation. Why am I talking about this? Leading in hard times isn't about knowing everything. Leading in hard times, it's about clarifying what matters, connecting everyone to it, keeping them safe in the process, and staying adaptable. No matter what you do today, Remember the mission: igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a killer day.